What's going on, everybody? It's me, Ryan, the host of the Classic Buffalo Podcast, the podcast that interviews everyday people like you, listener, on their stories surrounding mental health, what's going on in their life, what have they been through, what do they want to do, everything from A to Z, shallow to deep, we cover it. Today is no different. It is Book 71. Alex McKinley. Alex, man, I've been waiting a while to have this episode on here. Alex knows a lot of different people that have been on the podcast, and she's had a really positive impact on my own personal journey. I'd recommend that you listen to Jordan Burns' episode, Recovery Ray's episode. Those are two big ones that we kind of tackled towards the end of the episode, but they have a connection along with me, with Alex. And so that'll kind of mean a little bit more / give you a little bit of context. That's just my recommendation before proceeding with this episode. But other than that, the things we talk about, Alex is a fitness trainer, essentially. She works for a gym, and she kind of leads the things down in downtown Indianapolis. And she's one of the most positive people that I've ever met. The feelings you feel when you're around this person, you know, they take you to another level. And so she does that for me. She does that for so many other people. And, you know, it's about time that we kind of share her origin story and the things that she's been through, the things that she's learned about fitness and nutrition and, the role that mental health plays in everything. So, yeah, I think you'll really enjoy it. So without further ado, let's get to Book 71 with Alex McKinley. Joining me this wonderful Wednesday is Alex McKinley. Hi, Alex.
Hello.
Welcome to the Danger Zone.
Ooh. I like it.
Yeah, right. We are here to talk about your story, and you're in Indianapolis, right? You're one of the top fit. I don't know what would you say? You're a fitness guru. Like, how would you say? What are you?
Personal trainer. I don't think covers all of it, but that is my main job. I train and I manage a gym, but I'm definitely interested in every aspect of health and wellness, really, and I'm involved in the city in other ways through like Indie Fitness Mag and whatnot too. So fitness guru, whatever you want to call it.
You actually know a lot of our former guests.
Yeah.
Jordan Burns being like one of your best friends.
That is correct.
Yeah. We're entering the first five icebreaker questions that are super easy to do. The last five are a little harder. Number one, if you could have dinner with anyone in the world, who's alive, who do you have dinner with?
Man, there are a lot of different ways I could go with this, but I've been on a big Aubrey Marcus kick. He is the CEO of On It. It's like a human optimization company. I just got done reading his book, Own the Day. I think he has some really cool philosophies just behind the way he thinks, lives, feels, acts, just everything really about him just is very intriguing to me. So I would love to sit down with him and have a nice dinner because one, I know it would be some type of like crazy deliciously sourced dinner of like all different kinds of things that are like particularly good for your body in this way or that. So yeah. I'll choose him for now. I would have Oprah be a close second just so I could go to her house and like sit in her grand estate and just, you know, have a super soul conversation with her.
Maybe she can like house it and cater in the food.
Right, exactly. That would be ideal.
Would you recommend his book?
I would definitely recommend his book. Yep. It's called Own the Day, Own Your Life. Optimized practices for waking, working, learning, eating, training, playing, sleeping, and sex. It's literally right on my bedside right now, so that's why I memorized that.
Okay, I was like, damn, that's good. Brought to you by Number two, this is kind of similar. Who's an inspirational woman that either like just impacts you today, previously, or maybe in the fitness game?
I guess I don't really follow like a lot of like influencer type people, but there is specifically like a Nike master trainer who I definitely look up to and am very inspired by. Her name is Kirsty Godso. Other than that, like somebody that I do know is definitely, I would say, my grandma. She is just she is 81 years old and still kicking. She's running errands every day. Well, not as much, obviously, because we are still in quarantine, but she like never settles down. She's always on the go. She still works as a real estate agent. She survived cancer 4 times and just has like the most bright, bubbly personality, outlook. And it's so great to still see her doing that at 81 years old.
Yeah, I got to ask you about your grandma later on.
She a trooper.
Yeah. Number 3, would you rather be unable to move your body when it rains or not be able to stop moving your body when the sun is out?
Definitely not be able to stop moving my body when the sun is out. I feel like I might do that anyways at the moment.
Right, yeah. You're always banging around, kind of running up steps, or, you're always on
doing something.
Yeah. Number 4, tips while you're single. Let's do that.
Oh my goodness. Being single is like the best time. Well, I will say it is the best time because you definitely can focus on anything and everything that you want to do without having to worry about any other person in the picture, which obviously should be your main goal before meeting someone and wanting to create a whole life with someone. Instead of trying to find your other half, definitely make yourself whole first. And then anybody else that comes into your life is just, a happy addition to that. Try a bunch of different things, like put yourself out there, not even in like the dating world, just in like the experience world. Like go and experience some shit, go travel if you can, just try some new things. Definitely go inside yourself as well and try and, expand your mindset a little bit, figure out, maybe unlearn some toxic habits and patterns from your past, ask yourself why they happened, like really just get in tune with yourself kind of before you do take on a relationship or another person.
Last one, motto or catchphrase that you live by.
I would say that my motto is to never abandon the spirit of play. And I've said that on, I feel like, a couple other podcasts maybe now at this point, but I just think it's so important to just like find what you like to do so then it doesn't become work. It doesn't become a hassle. It doesn't become, just another thing on your to-do list. Genuinely like fall in love with your life and put systems in place. It might take some time, if you're doing things you don't want to be doing, working for people you don't want to work for, whatever, but never abandon the spirit of play. So like kind of always have that like childlike curiosity about you because there are infinite amounts of things to learn on this earth. And so as long as you're always wanting to learn and play and do and read and just everything, then you can never be bored or unhappy with your life.
Boom. And you finished the first 5.
Woo.
So let's do timeline. Day 1, you emerge out of the womb. You've started your journey. Where are you at?
Day 1, I'm out this.
Yeah, right. Where are you at? What's the family like? Brothers, sisters, are you close with people? Kind of just talk about your family dynamic and where you were at.
Yeah. So I emerged out the womb on May 24th, 1994. And yeah, growing up, I was like born and raised in Indianapolis area, kind of like on the west side mainly. I went to Catholic school growing up through middle school and high school, and then I went to Indiana University. Other than that, mainly like my family life has always been honestly very good, very supportive. Of course, now knowing things that I like didn't know when I was younger, like everybody has their shit in their families and whatever. But my parents did get divorced when I was like probably later grade school, like 5th, 6th grade maybe. But my parents always lived like 5 minutes away from each other. They were still very amicable, friendly. Like I would always have my whole entire family at my games, which I don't have like a ton of brothers and sisters. I just have one younger brother and now 2 step siblings. But my mom, dad, aunt, grandma, brother, I would all like those would be like the guaranteed 5, like at all of my games growing up and playing sports and even in like my travel sports and whatnot. So I was always very supported and encouraged, which is, a nice feeling to have. And I'm definitely appreciative and grateful for that. My brother, I have a younger brother. His name is Nick. Just moved to Tampa actually, which is awesome because now he's got like the Buccaneers. He's going to be by the beach. Like I'm really excited to see what he does. He is kind of embarking in a construction management type of role down there. So I'm really excited to see him kind of come into his own because we both actually ironically just this year moved out of my mom's house. So we're both now on our own, like fully financially supporting ourselves, and it feels good. Although I didn't take, the typical standard route of moving out right after college. I love the way that I did things, and like I would never regret or go back at all.
Yeah, talk about your relationship with your grandma.
Yeah, so my grandma, she is the sweetest. Luckily, both of my grandmothers are still alive, and they are just amazing. But my grandma, on my mom's side, has been very influential. I'd say just because I always grew up with her just being so fearless in everything she did. Not only did she beat cancer 4 times, like I said, she had breast cancer 3 times and ovarian cancer once. But not only did she beat it, she turns around and creates a foundation for ovarian cancer called Overcoming Together. And every single year we have a big like 5K down at City Market. It's usually in like late September, like one of the last weekends. It like honestly always just like brings a tear to my eye to just see her up on stage still year after year in her little Survivor, outfit with her tag that says like, oh, Survivor for this many years now and this many decades now, and is just amazing to see. But she's just always been like such a positive light, although she lost her husband, my grandpa, like right before my brother was born. So I base most of like kind of my either like resilience or just passion from seeing her. You can go through so many different things in your life and be seemingly knocked down, but you just have to take that, learn from it, think of it as a lesson, if not a blessing, because you learned and you grew from it. So she definitely is a huge motivating factor behind a lot of the things that I do and how I believe that other people should live their lives as well.
I feel like it's people like that that give you a concept of time. There's so much pressure to get everything done from like 20 to 35 or 20 to 40. It's
for
like
sure.
You could be 81 and still killing it,
Right. That's so true. Yeah. Having just more patience with yourself instead of trying to, condense and accomplish, thinking you're only going to accomplish things in that, 1 decade of 20 to 30 or 30 to 40 or whenever that you think that is.
It's okay if you don't get certain stuff done in whatever your time frame is, because it may be off, but it's just the advantage. There are certain advantages to doing things in your 20s and 30s and 40s that you can't or would be harder to do in your 40s or 50s or 60s and beyond, maybe.
Totally. Yeah, I agree.
Shower thought.
And I think the landscape of that is changing a lot as well, too. So it's especially just in like younger generations, like we're not going to be the ones sitting at our desk and like of course there's not merit, I guess maybe merit, in having like a strong work ethic and, like staying committed to something like a job. But
yeah,
these days it's like we kind of want to feel a little bit more fulfilled, right? Like we don't want to just abide by what our parents did, what our parents did, really what anyone on the outside tells us to do. That's especially what we don't want to do as we, as these generations grow up. I just think too, like trusting in the timing of your own life. And if you just, once again, work on those different things about yourself that you can strengthen, focusing on your strengths versus trying to always focus on your weaknesses and getting better at your weaknesses and everything. Like, of course, there's something to be said for working on things you're not as good at to become better at them, of course, right? It's like, how do we ever develop a skill? But at the same time, we are born with like natural abilities that are freaking great and just like awesome, particular to our own selves. So I choose doubling down on that versus trying at something I'm not that good at,
Yeah, what are your like talents, do you know?
Obviously like talking, no. But I definitely do kind of like being out in front of people, whether that's through like motivating them at the gym or through even like maybe social media or through video or through like whatever type of like platform that is. I don't mind at all being like on camera or talking like on a podcast or something like that, because like I do take the time to do the inner work and to really kind of like focus on honing that in. And I do find that like the words that I say and, my thought processes and my ways of thinking through things have helped people. And if I can help one person motivate or inspire literally one person, then I've done my job. So the more that I continue to do that, the more I'm just even more motivated to, once again, go inside, look internally so that I can continue to develop those skills, as well as obviously having it all come from more of like a holistic health perspective. So I think learning about that is very interesting. And then just like learning more about myself in general as I go. So I think another one of my strengths too is knowing a lot about a little, or knowing a little about a lot. definitely have like a scattered type of mindset, which yes, focusing is definitely a weakness that I would like to work on strengthening, because focusing is definitely something that will benefit you regardless of what you're trying to accomplish.
Right.
But I do also take pride in the fact that I can kind of, hold my own in a lot of different conversations, a lot of different settings, kind of like maybe be a chameleon of sorts, depending on where I'm at, who I'm with, whatever. So I do find that I have some good social and communication skills.
Yeah, you're one of the most like positive and happy people I've ever met.
Well, thank you.
Has it always been that way?
I was asked this before, and I mean, I've always kind of been, positive, happy-go-lucky, like always, once again, like wanting to play. That's kind of from like just like sports growing up and things. I've always had like a competitive spirit. I had my phases growing up and through adolescence and, hitting puberty, where I was a drama queen and mean to my parents and just like mean to other kids. You know what I mean? Like you kind of like go through those stages of like just like having attitude 24/7 and everything. And like I definitely went through those stages, but I think like after growing out of that, I do just see the bright side of things, and whether that's like God given or if it's something I've cultivated and didn't even hardly know it until recently, then so be it. But I definitely do see the brighter side of things. People can say that that's ignorant, or, of course, what the negative people like to respond to the positive people about with. It's like, oh, you don't know the real world. You don't see reality, like blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, I just choose to see the good, because there actually is so much good in the world that a lot of people do just overshadow with the negative and the news and the fear mongering. So I choose the good every time.
Mm-hmm. Do you like monitor your consumption of social media?
Yeah, to an extent. I mean, like I've been on a few unfollow sprees, although at the same time, I don't just like scroll mindlessly. I've got my few people that I'll like specifically search out to like look at their content and like become inspired by it. And it's all generally very like, not only just positive, but either it's like on the athletic sports side, it's kind of just like informing, or it's like fashion based, or it's, like I follow a lot of those like Ayurveda accounts and just things like that. I honestly never read news like really extensively. Like I find if I need to know something about something that's coming up, I'll just go on Twitter, because like there you'll find like the quickest, most up to date whatever news updates that like you need to find out about. So I definitely am not a fear monger in the way of forcing myself to read the news every day.
So, like, have you always been, like, fit? I mean, you're a pretty fit person. I mean, you can still yeah. I mean, you can still be, like, kind of fit or skinny or whatever, like, and do personal trainer. But, like, I feel like there's different levels of, like, ripped or fit and stuff. Like, did you always used to be as fit and ripped as you've kind of, like, always, like, you are now? Or, like, I'm trying to get it, like, did you used to be like, I used to be 300 pounds, and now I'm,
right.
Like, you have one of those, and, like, that's what got me into fitness? Or, like, you kind of have always been kind of athletic and somewhat fit, and you kind of just, you honed it in a little bit more?
It's definitely the latter. Like, I haven't had some kind of crazy transformation to undergo, which, of course, I'm thankful for. But there, at the same time, there's also something to be said about having, like, a type of discipline. But, like, growing up, I was always in sports. Like, since I was 6, I played, like, throughout my younger years up until, like, college, which I didn't play any, like, organized sports. I would just play some intramurals and different, like, fraternity, sorority, like, sporting games that, of course, I, like, would go way too hard. But growing up, I played, like, softball, volleyball, cross country, soccer. Like, I loved me some flag football. Basketball I wasn't as good at back then, but I've, like, recently dipped back into. I played travel softball, like, my whole life. So I guess it could have gone either way. I could have been, just burnt out of doing sports. But like I said, I've just always loved the spirit of competition itself. And I was always a hard worker, and I was always good at my sport. And so it was nice kind of getting that, like, validation from, working hard, like, being disciplined in that way. Like, I wasn't nearly as, like, disciplined nutritionally, just because I didn't know necessarily. I just kind of, like, ate whatever was put in front of me, and, like, that was fine because I was going to work it off, because I was, like, always working out or going to practice or something. And then, like, through college, it definitely took a dip because like, that college life. I joined a sorority. I was like partying all the time, but I still would get my workouts in. I would definitely drag some of my friends in my sorority down to our basement. We would do some of those like P90X workouts and like Truly Die and go on like frat lap walks and just like that kind of stuff too. And I definitely maintained my fitness, but maybe I always kind of knew underlying in a way that like that's the path I was going to take in the future anyway. So it's always kind of just been a part of my life.
So what component does nutrition play in like what you do? I mean, like talk about what you do like on a day-to-day basis, like now, and then kind of like obviously like non-corona related, like what were you doing before this?
So a typical day pre-corona would be like waking up at 4:15 a.m. every single day during the week, and going to my gym, F45 Training downtown Indy, that just opened up in January. We had just been open for like a good, probably like 2 months until, mid-March when everything kind of went down. Mm-hmm. But my schedule was just like extremely packed because not only am I managing the gym, I'm head trainer at the gym as well. So I was there for like every single class damn near, which is like 5 a day. Training people, just figuring out the ropes of that, that new gym life, like seeing what works, seeing what kind of systems we can start to put in place, training other trainers, doing stuff on the back end, social media, marketing kinds of things, lead generations, contacting leads, and like all kinds of things. So my days then would kind of just be like, wake up at 4:15. I would leave by like 5:30-ish because our first class is at 6:15, but I still like to get, because people would be so confused, like, oh, why do you have to wake up at like 4:15? Like, why don't you just wake up? You could sleep like almost a whole other hour. And I'm like, because like I still want to be in my best self before I get to the gym. I don't want to be like rolling out of bed, getting to the gym, and then still half waking up by the time class starts. I need to like get right with myself. To feel rushed first thing in the morning is like the worst start to your day that you can have. So I would recommend, moreover than anything else, if you're wanting to implement something like a healthy habit or just something that's really going to be a game changer, then wake up earlier. I only set one alarm. I never hit snooze. I just get right up because normally I have to pee anyway. Just get right up, get out of bed, and then I make my bed real quick so I can't get back into my bed, and then I move on. Which, that being said, that takes practice in itself. So literally take things one day at a time and don't be too hard on yourself. In between, I definitely like my nutrition during quarantine is so much different than my nutrition now. So while we've been quarantined, honestly, it's been like a really nice break. And I know, people feel all different types of ways when somebody actually thinks that this quarantine has been like a blessing in disguise. But I genuinely do believe that, at least for my life in general. And yes, I understand that I may be more privileged than others to be able to like feel this way and to have like a break and still be getting paid and still working to some extent. But just for me personally, like this whole quarantine has been a good like step back. I was definitely overworking myself. I wasn't like sleeping enough. So now I've just been focusing on getting these routines in my life that will just help me that much more when everything does pick back up. I've been taking time to read more, going on more walks as it's getting nicer. It's spring now, so the weather's been getting nice. I've been cooking a lot more, so that definitely can transfer over to the nutrition part of things. I've been having more time to cook, so been spending a little bit more time doing that and having like meals on deck instead of, getting like a salad from Whole Foods or oatmeal all the time because it's quick and easy or something like that. So once again, a blessing in disguise.
Mm-hmm. What are some like beginner stuff on nutrition that people may or may not know, or some things to if they want to lose weight or they want to tone? I know there's different advice for every person, right? Because one person wants to bulk up, so they would probably eat things different if they want to lose weight. Like, and the amount of there's different workouts. If you like, I know that's kind of. But is there any general advice or things to consider, or maybe things you're finding out now or recently that are kind of cool to bring up?
Basically, I would just say start learning more about the food that you're putting in your body. Once you not only answer the question of why do I want to eat better food, it really turns into an act of self-love more than anything. And it's like, I truly think of my body as a temple. That doesn't mean I never have fun and I have this rigid diet that I follow, or the day's ruined. But for the most part, like 90% of the time, I'm eating like real foods that actually come from the earth, because that's how we're supposed to live and eat. And
Right.
it really sucks and it's really sad to see people eating so many foods that just aren't real. And that's what really fucks you over, is all those processed foods, all those antibiotics, all those inorganic materials are not getting flushed out of your system. They're staying there. They're getting stuck. They're turning into fat, and they're just that much harder to work off of. Plus, you feel like shit. You have brain fog. You have indigestion. You just like don't feel your best when you eat shitty food. So once again, turns into an act of self-love. Like, I love myself and I love my body. Therefore, I want to put the foods in it that are really going to help me, like mind, body, and soul, right? We are completely connected to the earth, to nature, to the food that comes from the earth and nature. So therefore, I think we should just do as much as we can to make sure that the overwhelming majority of our diet comes from those types of foods. I think the first thing you could do, is definitely like understand what you are putting in your body. And if you can't pronounce it, and if you don't know any of the ingredients, then maybe think twice and maybe look for, healthy swaps that maybe taste similar to what you're thinking about, but are actually real and just don't have as much like shit in them.
Right. Yeah, it'd be a lot easier if it just said this has shit in it.
Ugh, I know, right? That's the worst part, is that it's all confusing and is like marketed to act healthy, and there's like green labels and shit because they think they're healthy, but there's like 20 grams of sugar or just like some dumb shit,
Are there like good fast food or any good restaurants that are like, like I'm talking, because like McDonald's, not good for you, probably, right?
Right.
Like I'm talking Chick-fil-A, Qdoba, Whole Foods. It's like, are there places that like that's like good for you? And I'm doing quotes over here.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you can definitely find what works and make things work for you. Like, I definitely wouldn't go for a salad at McDonald's because that has sugar in it, surprisingly. Like, a lot of things actually that you would think didn't have sugar in it do. But I would say for the most part, like a Chipotle, Qdoba, like obviously not loading things up with like the sour cream and cheese, like load up on, veggies, fajita veggies, beans, everything first. That's definitely like, of course, a healthier option. Like a lot of people obviously say like Subway and things, but I just can't really do processed meats like that anymore, just because the way that they're preserved is gross, and just the whole concept of them is gross, and they're mass produced. So I try and stay away from that as well. Or just like a salad bar, really anywhere, right? Where you can like pick your own ingredients, what's going into the food. So that's always a good bet.
What if I'm like afraid to get a trainer, or maybe I'm afraid to start working out? There's some obstacle or hurdle. What would you say to that person?
So there can be a lot of different hurdles and obstacles, and the main one is, your own self and your own mindset, and you're your biggest enemy, you're your biggest critic. Like, I was actually over at my mom's the other day, and we were about to go on a walk, and she was just a little bit down on herself because she feel like she's like gained weight in quarantine and everything. And I'm like, you're not allowed to talk about yourself like that around me, because I just don't tolerate it at all. And I'm like, if I would say the same things that you're saying, if any of your friends, family, like anyone else was saying, oh, I feel so bad, I feel like I've gained 20 pounds, every single person would say, what are you talking about? Like, you don't even look that bad. Like stop putting yourself down. Like, everyone would say that. But since it's ourself and our own brains, messing with us, we believe what we say, which, newsflash, you don't have to believe everything that you tell yourself, because everything you tell yourself isn't true. Once you can either get that one foot out the door, or just talk to a friend who's in the same exact boat as you, or like go online. That's one of the good things about social media, is that you can definitely connect with like-minded people and have accountability partners. If you are really struggling with taking that first step, there is no harm at all in reaching out to someone about it, right? Like, what's the worst they're going to do? Say no? Okay, talk to someone else. Don't take things, I don't know, not like so personally, but don't like make things in your head 10 times worse than they actually are, because the pain and the, struggle that you're bound to feel, like, we can all have realistic expectations of working out. Like, nothing worth having comes easy. Therefore, you're going to have to work hard. You're going to have to get uncomfortable. You're going to have to do things you don't want to do, but you're going to be chipping away at this better version of yourself that you're going to be so much more proud of, so much more energetic. Like, there's endless benefits to taking that first step. So I would say reach out to someone, anyone, about it. If you're listening to this and you don't know where to go, reach out to me. Like there's so many good resources, whatever that looks like to you, whether that's a group fitness class or more of a one-on-one based like personal training session. There are so many different options to really help people.
What's been like your experience either personally or people you know with mental health and anxiety and depression and things like that?
So personally, as in like me, myself, I once again feel lucky to not have any necessarily like underlying like depression or anxiety or things like that, which I do think is in part to just like my active lifestyle, the things I do fuel myself with. I'm sure you've heard the quote, let food be thy medicine. So we can definitely change kind of the way we think by the way that we eat and the way that we move. So I find that has helped me a lot, but obviously I'm in the minority of that, and there's an overwhelming majority of people who do suffer with these things every single day. Going through college, one of like the biggest learning and traumatic and just like everything experiences was my junior year. One of my best friends, she passed away in our sorority house by her own means, and I was just very close to that whole situation. And she was kind of like previously telling me how she would get anxiety and depression, and she was undercover failing all of her classes, but she was the brightest light in the room, the most hilarious person ever, like never said a bad thing about anyone, was friends with everyone. She was our sisterhood chair, ironically, in our house. And she would just put together like random events for us to do, like all watching a movie together or all doing something together. And to lose her really just kind of put a spotlight on the fact that it doesn't really matter how people are acting in front of other people and in public and out front when they could be dealing with so many more things behind the scenes. I just think that's another huge driving force behind why I do try and live as positively as I can, and hopefully trying to infect others with my positivity, because if I can make you smile or laugh or, you know, push past something or make yourself feel good about something, or at least just make you see something in more positive light, then I just feel that much better. And because I'm hoping that others can feel that much better from doing that. So that's the turning point of my life, definitely. So I feel like now I'm like living for two people, and I'll always keep Kelly very close to me, and I'll always, you know, I won't shy away from talking about her. I won't shy away from feeling her spirit. If I can be around a stranger and have a sign from Kelly and just like have to take a moment, you know, stop talking, do whatever, and like really feel her spirit, because she is completely around me all the time. And I like truly, truly believe in that.
What's the best thing a supporter, the best friend, the boyfriend, the girlfriend, the parent, you know, someone who's very close to someone who's struggling, what's the best thing they can do in that situation? Because I mean, even like we just talked about, sometimes you just have no idea.
I know that's a hard one, because it takes everything in me not to think I didn't do as much as I could have done, right? It's like people want to first blame themselves, and then I also think at the same time, how selfish is it of me to think of me blaming myself when she must have had this underlying just like complete mental turmoil that she was going through that I didn't even realize. Or like I said, she had kind of like brought it up occasionally, and honestly it was just all kind of very recent or very like quickly happening whenever it did. I would just say like any sign, like people will tell you definitely in their own special way. So it is just kind of like being in tune with others and really listening instead of just hearing what they're saying. If there's any signs, don't kind of shy away from it or say, oh, they're acting weird. Like genuinely reach out. Or if you don't feel comfortable reaching out, talk to someone who does. There's numbers you can call, you know, people you can go to, but you always will wonder, you know, what if there was something more I could have done, or that could have been done.
Yeah, what would you say to the person who thinks that they're alone, they want to do something, but they feel like they can't, you know, they just feel stuck. They want to lose weight. They want to start a business. They just feel trapped. Like there's a lot of different types of things that they're feeling. They maybe are feeling ultimately overwhelmed, depressed, or really anxious.
I would say that you're not alone in that, but I definitely think that is kind of the first thing that people do say. So
right.
I will say that like your feelings are valid and your existence is valid. You are in control of your life as much as you may feel out of control sometimes, the one thing you can't control is how you were raised. So maybe tapping into your past, looking at why things happened the way they did, why, a lot of people sometimes like feel anxious and depressed. It's because of underlying, trauma that they had throughout their childhood, and they might not even know it. They're just reacting in a way that shows it's from some past trauma or something. So it definitely is about, getting to know yourself, becoming more honest with yourself, really calling yourself out on your own shit. That's a pretty big motivating one for me, is like really kind of like honing in on like just checking in with yourself every once in a while. Say, okay, what habits like are not serving me right now? Like, what are these toxic habits that I either have already built or am like starting to build like while in quarantine? You know what I mean? Like, you can either go one of two ways, like, active and staying on your game and whatever and getting rest and doing all these things, or you could be working from home with kids and about to pull your hair out every day and like letting the laundry pile up, and just all these things can start to pile up just physically and metaphorically.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just kind of like taking things as they come and really just focusing on one thing at a time. So what are the things you can control, right? The way that you think, the way that you act, the way that you react, and everything else essentially is out of your control. So as long as you can think in a way that is, positively serving you, I would say first and foremost, stop the negative talk about yourself. Like, everyone is worthy and everyone is deserving of love and a great life, no matter how you were raised, no matter what anyone else in your life has ever told you. A bad ex, a family member is the worst because you think that you're the closest to them. But just always remember that, like, you can't control what happens outside of your own thoughts, your own actions. So I would say really honing in and taking control of that and just chipping away, like figuring out what that is, having a conversation with someone to find out what that is could be helpful.
Yeah, that voice that says you aren't good enough, that all of these negative things, that's not your own. Like that, we weren't created having that built in. There was some that somebody told us that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing, is like you can choose to not listen to that and realize, oh, that's not me. That's not my voice.
Yep. It's definitely, yeah. And like, I'm sure, a lot of people these days have heard of David Goggins, and it's just about like calling that little bitch voice out on its bullshit, right? It's like your thoughts aren't facts, right? But we tend to believe what we think about ourselves more than any other thing, especially if it's negative. It's like, oh, how can I be a good person? Like when I did something bad this one time, or like just like these dumb little things that we like to amplify times 10 and, blame ourselves for, or think that we're a bad person for. It's like every single day is a new day to make a better choice, to make a better decision, to think a better thought. So what happened yesterday is in the past. It doesn't exist anymore. Like talking about myself now, it's like who I was this time a year ago isn't the same person I am now. Who I was yesterday isn't the same person I am now, right? Like we always kind of want to be like giving ourselves that new chance every single day. Every single moment really is a new chance.
Yeah, it's true. Where do you want to go with this? What are your hopes and your dreams?
The more I just try to become like in tune with my own thoughts and feelings and actions in life, I truly believe that the more good I just put out into the universe, the more it's going to come back to me. Like, I know I'm deserving of abundance, whether that's financially, spiritually, physically. I'm deserving of like what is meant for me, right? Because it is meant for me. So I'm going to continue to do the best I can in any position that I acquire, anything that I do. I'm always going to lead with, giving that joy and positivity and that light towards others, because once again, I do find that that is one of my strengths, like we talked about earlier. And I really find that too, like no matter what I do with it, it's going to be returned to me, tenfold. So whatever that looks like, I don't have any type of rigid 5-year plan or 3-year plan. And I know I do have an idea, a business idea for myself that will once again unfold when the time is right. But I have a name and I have kind of like a concept. But other than that, I just genuinely think like opportunities will present themselves to me. And as long as I'm open and willing to explore what those opportunities are going to be, then they won't miss me. The moments I think that, oh, something didn't turn out the way that I thought it would, or I plan to be here for the next few years and to be in this position and to grow my position and eventually maybe have equity or whatever, and then like something gets cut short, I always also lead with like the way I feel about something. So if I start to have an uneasy feeling about something, or something just isn't the same as it once was, then why stay in it? Why not look into other ventures? Because like I said, there's just so many different types of things you can put yourself out there and do. And I know that whatever I choose, or whatever I put out into the world, will be given back to me through opportunities and experiences.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I hope you get all those things you're looking for. I mean, you deserve it. You work really, really hard. You're laser focused. You radiate positivity, and you have a lot of really cool people that are starting to come and say, hey, what's going on over there? And like joining you. So two people that I kind of want to point out, because they're kind of prominent, or at least have had some impact on your life, all that kind of jazz, but they were previous.
They've had like massive impact on my life, actually.
Yeah, right. We'll start with Jordan Burns, which is one of your best friends.
So I couldn't talk about Jordan and Raymond coming up next without talking about Recovery Room, and just everything I've like learned from there, all the people that I met, the people I became connected with through working at Recovery Room, and even just going there. Really, just honestly, I couldn't be more thankful for like Connie and John and Jared and those guys. But that being said, Dr. Jordan Burns, my bestie, we honestly have like been friends now for like a year and a half.
Yeah.
But we met through Recovery Room. He was wanting to do some stuff with us, like maybe giveaways and stuff like that. I think it was around Christmas time. Him coming to Recovery Room, me putting him through cryo, whatever, just meeting him in general. And we just like hit it off right away. Obviously, he's just like a very positive beam of light as well. And we connect on like a spiritual level very similarly. We're kind of at that time, and still continuing to do, of course, like just figuring ourselves out really, and just kind of like trying to figure out like this deeper meaning of like our existence, right? Like, just like typical first time you meet your friend type stuff.
Right.
And then like from there, we would just like see each other. I ended up herniating a disc in my neck, like not, yeah, it was like a year and a half ago, or like not this last February, but the February before. But like I had just met Jordan, and he was like, okay, we're going to put you on a plane. You're going to come in like 2 times a week. We're going to do decompression table, cupping, scraping, like all that kind of stuff, adjustments, whatnot. And then that combined with like the float tank at Recovery Room was just like the best holistic recovery program I could have been put on, because it really, really helped. Through that, honestly, too, like Jordan and I just became like best friends. We actually took a drive randomly one day. It was like a Friday after work or something. We just had like nothing to do. I was already like way over in Fishers when I was living in like Speedway at the time. And so we just kind of like drove around. The sun was setting. It was like a beautiful day. And there was just that unspoken bond of like complete platonic loving friendship throughout these last last year and a half of like being best friends. Obviously now he's married and is about to have a child. So
he finally got married?
Yes, he got married early March.
Oh, sweet. Well, congrats.
Yep, he's about to have, right, I know. He's about to have a little baby girl. I know we've got Kayla, is like amazing and hilarious, and they are completely meant to be. So that whole process of them even coming together was just like beautiful to see, because actually that whole year before, it's exactly what he was working for. Like, it's so amazing. And like Jordan is completely an example of this too, to see like you work for something and you believe something is going to happen to you. And once again, like you put in that work, the thought work, and the, the mindset and the going inside and like figuring out who you are, you're going to get exactly what you want. And he wanted a wife. Like he completely was like looking for his wife. Like definitely the last year there were some, I'm not going to say duds because everyone is worthy, but like these other girls or whoever, they just weren't clicking, right? But like as far as our friendship goes, we kind of really did just take the last like year and a half to work on ourselves, up like separately, but also together. And it was so much fun like having someone like this, because we knew it was so like platonic that's what made it so fun. It's like so nice having a platonic male best friend who doesn't have any ulterior motives, or there's no like underlying like neither of us put each other in the friend zone. Someone always thinks like, oh, like Alex put him in the friend zone, or the other way around, or like whatever. And it's like, nope, we friend zoned each other because we just want to be friends.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but like I could not say enough good things about Jordan. Like I actually couldn't go to his wedding because I was at a retreat in San Diego, and I was like very, very upset just like personally about it, because like I just had so many things I wanted to say, like either to his family or to Kayla or Kayla's family, or just like letting people know like how great of a human being he is.
You could have been the flower girl.
Right? Raymond, wow. He is like probably one of like the kickstarters of me even beginning to understand what like mindset developing and like what I wanted to do and like how I wanted to think was. So through Recovery Room, through working there, I just learned so much from the guys. And it's because like they put really good systems in place, like internal systems, I would say. So they were all about, you know, the Gary Vee and the like the Joe Rogan and Tony Robbins and everything. And I had not even like heard of these guys before I started working there. And I would just like listen to podcasts that they would be playing in the morning while we would set up, and we would just, and they would just always be like feeding their mind and like either feeding their minds or working towards their business. You know, it's not like a big corporate recovery center. Like they completely own and operate the business. So everything is riding on, you know, what they can come up with and who they can bring in and how the business looks and works and marketing and just everything. So I met Raymond just going to Recovery Room, and he would go to Recovery Room, and like we were like just friends with like John and Connie and Jared and them. I mean, immediately when you meet him, Raymond's presence is just like so calming. Like I literally get in his aura and immediately feel calm. So those type of people, you know, you don't want to let leave you.
Yeah, right.
So fast forward a little bit, we both start working at Recovery Room because we're like we got another location in Westfield and whatnot, and we would just like have these conversations, and he helped me so much to just kind of like think a little bit more deeply about certain things, kind of start asking myself more questions about why I think the way I think, why I want to think in a, you know, more enlightened way, and like, you know, having that in mind whenever I do things in real life. So kind of having like not like a purpose behind everything that I do, but making sure that I'm doing the things that are in line with my mindset and like, you know, the things that I believe about myself and about the world around me. I'm growing and learning every day. It definitely is nice to kind of like sit back, implement some meditation, look inside, think about things a little bit more deeply instead of just, you know, being on the go like I always am. So he's really helped me kind of like dial my own self in, and he's just such a great person too. Shout out.
Sweet.
Man, two great people.
So let's go. We're on the final 5 now. We have entered the last part of the podcast. What is another podcast or YouTube channel, you know, YouTuber, maybe Netflix documentary, something that you would recommend that people check out?
First, off the top of my head, I just watched a really good documentary on Netflix called Heal. And especially right now with like everything that's going on, it's really cool to see how people can actually heal themselves through their thoughts. There's like a few other things that go into it. Of course, like you're going to have to maybe go on some nature walks or some things like that. But it is a really cool documentary that just touches on a few different people who have these chronic diseases, chronic illnesses, cancers, things like that, where they really did implement a lot of these like holistic practices, thought work, meditation, all different kinds of things like that, and they completely healed, reversed, or just got rid of their illnesses that they had. So it was really amazing to watch. As far as podcasts go, I'll rotate between a few. There's one called the Mind Valley podcast where they touch on a bunch of different things like mental health, financial health, physical, spiritual, all different types of things. So that's a good one to go if you kind of want like a good mix of stuff. My boy Aubrey Marcus, who I touched on earlier in the pod, he's got a really good podcast as well, just called like the Aubrey Marcus podcast. Ben Greenfield is another guy who is just all about that body optimization, just awesome and super educational. Like a lot of the stuff he talks about is a little bit over my head, but the more I listen, the more familiar I become with his terms and his explanations of things, the more I learn. So that's always fun. And then as well, the other homegirl I touched on, Oprah, she has a really good, just amazing podcast called Oprah's Super Soul Conversations. So I'll definitely listen to not a podcast a day, maybe like 2 or 3 podcasts a week, realistically, while I'm walking or driving or doing whatever. And I could not recommend feeding your mind through podcasts more.
Would you rather have your skin change color based on your mood, or would you rather have tattoos that change to depict what you did yesterday?
Yo, I'd rather have tattoos depicting what I did the day before, because that's like the biggest accountability of all, right?
Right. Well, because you could, and if you weren't proud of it, you could just wear layers.
Way to edit your own question.
Yep.
Like,
Saved you.
right.
Number 3, what's the key to happiness?
I think the key to happiness is self-love.
Number 4, what's your favorite part about yourself?
I think my favorite part about myself now would just be maybe the way that I do love myself, because that in turn helps me love others and want to see others do well that much more, knowing that I'm confident enough in myself to not be able to project any of my insecurities on somebody else, or not, be afraid to tell somebody how I feel or tell somebody how great they are or something like that, just because I do love myself and I want others to love themselves too. So I think being open in my self-love will hopefully help to motivate others in the same way.
Last one. What's one of your most proudest moments of your life?
Writing and reading Kelly's eulogy. And I know that might be a little bit dark, but I've never been able to verbally honor someone's life like that before. And just the way that it was received afterwards, I've always loved writing and putting words together and just even journaling or anything, and just the way that it was received and what I was even able to deliver just about her life, and the fact that her mom even asked me to write something was an extreme honor, and it was definitely one of the proudest moments of my life.
Yeah, I'm glad you got to do that. So now what I want you to do is pick a person, shout them out. Shout out Janice from 8th grade for getting me, into fitness, whatever you want. But we're picking a person, just pouring into them and thanking them for their impact on your life.
Okay. I think I would just say my mom and dad, right? Because if they didn't do things in the exact way that they did, imperfections and all, drama and all, divorce and all, just everything that they went through with me, with everything, I wouldn't be in this exact moment in time, right? Once again, you can't help how you were raised, but you can help how your future children are raised. So knowing what I know now, I'm ready to impart that on my future children. And it couldn't have been, I wouldn't exist without them. So
right.
Shout out.
Shout out. Sweet. Well, hey, it means the world to finally have you on here.
I know. I'm glad we finally got to it.
Yeah, you'll hear in the outro my thoughts on some of the things that you've said, but it means the world to kind of have you, someone who's in the fitness game, and fitness is just by its nature, it has an impact more than we know on our mental health. And for one of the most positive people that I know and have met, to get your perspective and your history and to get your kind of story out there was important to me. So it's so cool to kind of check in on you and just see how you've just been progressing and just kind of advancing, and the sky's the limit for you. So
Thank you. I really appreciate you for having me on too, and just being once again, you're such a positive light too. And it's always so fun seeing you, even if it's through Instagram or social media, you just have a light about you too that makes people laugh, that want to be around you, want to be involved in whatever you're doing. It's that guy looks fun, I want to follow him. Wherever he's going, I'm going to.
Goodbye, guys.
See ya. Thanks for having me.
Hey everybody, this is Ryan from the Classic Buffalo Podcast. Wanted to take a second to talk about Anchor, how I'm actually making this podcast happen. Super happy that I'm partnering with them. So, Anchor is actually the easiest way to make a podcast. I've done my research. This is basically the best way. I promise. It's going to give you everything you need in one place for free, which is the best part. It's going to have tools, so you don't really need a fancy schmancy recording guy. Anchor's going to be helping you out there, and then they're going to distribute the podcast everywhere to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, everything. And then you can also make money with basically no minimum listenership, which is kind of rare. So hop on Anchor as soon as you can. Thanks. And that's the episode. Congratulations for making it to the very end. Now it is time for my debriefing, outro, thoughts on Alex, thoughts on life. So a few things. I'm so happy that I was able to finally get a hold of Alex and just to kind of get her story. Alex and we met at a networking party, as with that's pretty much the same party, I think, that I've met a couple of the other guests. But, Alex's energy, I followed her on Instagram for a very long time. And her energy, man, it is just contagious. Just hearing her talk about, Jordan and talk about Ray and talk about other people in her life that have positively impacted her and kind of fed into that light that she is. She's like a freaking human lighthouse. She really is. When I think there was, the time that we actually hung out, we went to a farmer's market and we got dinner, and just the whole conversation between me and Alex was, I can't explain how I felt when I was hanging around her, other than feeling so encouraged, so on fire for my own ideas. If I said something negative about myself, and this is the story of our friendship and relationship and stuff, it's she just would call that shit out. She's great at that. And those of you who know her, that she does that. No tolerance for the negativity, because a lot of times that's not our voice. So, find people, I imagine if you're kicking on all cylinders in your life, you have 5 or 10 Alexes in your life of people that are just your homies. You're just your ride or dies, the encouragers, if you have something you're trying to do in life, or you want to lose weight, you want to start a business, you want to go to school, you're this or that, but maybe you're afraid, or, you're whatever. Alex is the one to point out your progress. Alex is the one that, we had a conversation recently in the last couple of months where I was talking to her about, sometimes I just don't feel like I'm fit enough. I don't feel like I've lost enough weight. I wish I could be more active, or I could be active. But she's like, Ryan, you work out 3 times a week. You're active. That's not the issue. You can do a little bit better, but it's Alex focuses the conversations when you're with her to look at the positive. Look at how far you've come. These things take time. If you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to start a business, if you're trying to work on yourself, it takes time to love yourself, to overcome bad habits. Those things take time. And, I don't know, I just got a lot of joy from getting to share what's happened to her because, I think from a person who doesn't really know her, they might be like, why is she just so happy all the time? She has no reason to be happy. So happy as much as she is, it's that it might be fake. But when you look at her and when you talk to Alex, you can tell that this is a person who's been through some things and has chosen to be happy, has chosen to fight through it. And that's evidenced by what's happened, in her life and what you've heard. And, I can't imagine losing someone who was that close to Alex. I'm really happy that she was able to have that moment and to share that. It's just a really tough situation, suicide. And, with this being Suicide Prevention Awareness Month of September, anytime that someone comes on the podcast and is able to talk about that person's life, I welcome that. And it's cool to honor some people that we've lost. And, Alex isn't the only one. There's a couple of people who have come on here and done that. And so, I don't know, it's just a little beautiful nugget to really appreciate somebody, who meant a lot to Alex or to anyone who, has impacted them. So shout out to you, Alex, for just being an awesome person. And, this whole F45 and the gym thing was a big step that was, really happy that has happened for her. And it's just cool. It's cool when you appreciate and like somebody and, support somebody, and then things start going their way. And I think that is the case with Alex, and that's just really cool, just to see somebody be successful that you think deserves to be successful. For a challenge as a listener, I think I'd want you to think about, where are you being too hard on yourself? What areas have you been working on, but you're not giving yourself enough credit? Honor your progress. Have fun. Never abandon the spirit of play, as Alex would say. Get rid of that bitch voice. the little negative voice that's your second grade bully. That's really what it is. And say, shut up. I'm awesome. I'm loved. I'm valued. I'm accepted. I've worked hard. I'm trying my best. I'm this or I'm that. I've come this far. Give yourself some credit and try to work on shutting up the bitch voice. It takes progress or takes practice, but I think you can do it. I believe in you, listener. And like I said, if you are alone or feeling alone, you're not. If you feel like you haven't done enough, you've probably done more than you think. I just want to encourage you today and keep fighting. If you want to get involved as far as the whole Suicide Prevention Awareness Month stuff, I know there's walks that are going to be going on in the next couple of weeks. I'm printing t-shirts that I will sell, and the money will go towards my therapy costs for the month. It's kind of like a mental health tour. I'm making a band themed t-shirt, with a whole bunch of dates and cities on the back. So if you want to cop one of those, I'm only making 15 of them. I might make more if I find more blank shirts, but this was more just for a September thing, just to, I felt like I had to do something for Vintage Indie and to kind of show people that I'm still here, I'm still fighting. I took a break and still might, October I might just go back to hibernation and just enjoy not posting on Instagram. It's kind of nice sometimes to not be so sucked into all the likes and comments, So, I don't know. I'm thinking about it, but this is obviously episode 71. I'm trying to think of a way to end season 1. So I don't have any episodes planned for next week, at least at this point. I'm trying to schedule people to talk with, either get stuff ready for season 2 or to get a season 1 finale. Trying to work on that right now. So please be patient. Go and re-listen to an episode. I know not all of the episodes apply to you. So maybe pick one that you are maybe I don't know if I'd get this, and just listen to that. We've got 70 episodes of content that you can listen to. I'll still be posting on Instagram a little bit, but I'm going to try and wrap up season 1 with either a compilation episode with a bunch of you guys who have been on the podcast, or, I'm working on that. So I'm trying to wrap up season 1 here, and then I'm finishing writing my own story and just kind of working on that. So I'm going to obviously, once season 1's done, I'm going to take a break and focus on season 2, which is either going to be either a combination of both my story and more of your stories, or just my story, and then season 3 will be back to you guys. So I'm working on it. I'm working at the car wash. Yeah. If you have any ideas, comments, concerns, you want to be on an episode, hit me up in the DMs. It goes down in the DMs. But until next time, it's been your boy Ryan. See ya.